a significant amount of irrational behavior took place this weekend. Or candidly, and better said, a lot of stupidity was on display. It's Tuesday, September 9th as I record this. And this episode in particular has absolutely nothing to do with politics, race, sports, and pop culture. But we're going to talk about all of the spitting that occurred this weekend in the NFL, the NCAA, the shoving, because it's a more widespread in public example of these destructive mindset programs I've discussed at length on this show. What's up, fellow golfer? Welcome back to another episode of the Scratch Golfer's Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salter, the golf hypnotherapist, and this is the show for the high performer who wants to get unstuck out of their own way and play to their potential on the course and unlock their potential in every aspect of their life. This is the show that goes significantly deeper than surface level bullshit to help you get to the root, the core of the patterns of thinking, feeling, believing, and behaving that are holding you back and keeping you stuck in that perpetual cycle of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And on full display this weekend, a ton of saliva. Jalen Carter spitting on Thursday night. The NCAA player on the Florida Gators spitting in the USF game, literally creating a penalty that cost them the game. Lamar Jackson shoving the fan after the fan himself shoves or hit DeAndre Hopkins on the head, shoved and hit Lamar Jackson. And again, I'm going to be very clear. This show has nothing to do with football, though. Hail to the Redskins, 1-0, baby. What's up? Let's go. It has nothing to do with race, politics, pop culture. I'm going to make some generalizations. I'm going to oversimplify, and I'm going to make some assumptions in this conversation for the point of A, simplicity, B, to help you better understand what I'm talking about. You and me, we each possess these unconscious patterns of reaction, these unconscious patterns that are triggered and ultimately deploy a pattern that is toxic, counterproductive of thinking, feeling, believing, and behaving. And these patterns, which I refer to at length, are what I call destructive mindset programs. And they are deployed by your subconscious mind. They are learned patterns of thinking, feeling, believing, and behaving, and they're deployed and designed, as irrational and silly as it sounds, to keep you safe. Safe in an environment, a way of being that is certain, that is predictable, that is familiar, because that is safe. Your subconscious has one primary objective: to keep you safe. So anytime you are triggered, it has a whole list or host of programs designed to react, to do whatever it feels it has observed, ingrained, and integrated from your experience to date to keep you safe. So let's use Jalen Carter as an example. On Thursday Night Football last week, the Eagles versus the Cowboys, only the kickoff had occurred, and what we all initially saw, and I'm not going to get into all the details of the befores, was Jalen Carter spitting on Dak Prescott. And I don't care how much you hate the Eagles and Cowboys like I do, still completely unacceptable. I have a strong imagination that if you asked Jalen Carter, do you ever envision a world or a scenario in which you would spit on Dak Prescott, spit on anybody, an opposing player or otherwise, before the first football game of the year or at any time? Is there ever a world or a situation where you would envision spitting on somebody? Again, I have a strong imagination. The answer is absolutely not. Because away from that moment, those handful of seconds, 10, 20, 30 seconds, he's fully online. That logical, critical thinking brain was fully online. He wasn't triggered. So when you and I are in a place that our logical, critical thinking brain is online, we're not suddenly triggered and switched into that fight or flight response. We have the clarity to say, oh my God, duh, the logic, I would never do that. But when we are triggered, when you are triggered, when Jalen was triggered, that triggering sends you into an emotional state. And it's like an emotion, anger, as an example, hijacks the steering wheel of your decision making, your action taking. You suddenly are experiencing a strategic narrowing tunnel vision. You are irrational. Nothing else around you matters. And you're so locked into this one particular moment, environment, or circumstance, and an emotion, a big, irrational, chaotic emotion is driving the bus, driving the car. And that is not a place where you are clear-headed and able to make a critical, logical, rational decision. Clearly, emotions were already a little high. It's the start of the first game of the year. You're defending Super Bowl champions. Clearly, emotions already running a little high because you're playing on the defensive line and you've just got to get yourself amped up, pumped up in the zone, ready to go tear shit up for 60 minutes. Clearly, emotion is already a little high because it's your in-division rival. It's Thursday night, prime time. So emotions are running high, but from those three factors, again, a little assumption here. The vast majority of the time, emotions are still able to be kept in check in this moment, hopefully used productively on the field between the whistles. But clearly something occurred that triggered him to going offline, to deciding to spit on another man. And again, I have a strong imagination. He would never do that when he's fully online, critical thinking, rational, logical decision making. But in that moment, something happened. And I'm going to, make some assumptions for simplicity here. We saw that Dak ended up, spitting on the ground, and you can unpack that on a different podcast. This is not the place here. But what I'm going to assume is Jalen felt either disrespected, attacked, or like someone was bullying him, coming after him. And he took offense to that. And his state of being dramatically changed in the blink of an eye to, I've got to protect myself. I've got to fight back. Maybe there was a retaliation program taking place that was driven by anger, driven by self-defense. Maybe it was, I've just been disrespected. I'm going to disrespect you. How dare you do that? But there was this triggering event. And that is the beginning of every single destructive mindset program that's deployed. So in this case, he was spit at, or he felt he was spit at. For him, he internalized that as, I'm either being attacked, I'm being disrespected, and I need to fight back. That fight back is a normal human physiological primal response. So we know the triggering event. We know the emotion was likely anger or some slight variety of it. So a destructive mindset program starts with a trigger. There is an emotion. That emotion then begins to bleed into and craft the self-talk, the words and thoughts that are used. But before that, in between emotion and the words and the actions, is a filter is put up, a lens through which the situation is viewed. That filter or that lens is nothing more than a belief. So in this instance, the spit, the emotion is anger. He is likely believing like, I'm under attack, or he is disrespecting me, he is coming at me, and I'm going to react accordingly. This is all happening unconsciously in milliseconds, less than milliseconds. It's so fucking fast. Our brain is so capable of processing at speeds that we can't quite even grasp in real time. So all of this is happening so quick. He spit at, I'm angry, I'm disrespected, I'm going to fight back and protect myself. And in the blink of an eye, he has spit on another man on national television on week 1, Thursday Night Football, before the game has even started. Again, I have a strong imagination. He would never, ever do that if he wasn't triggered. So then it begins to beg the question, like, where did he learn this? And that's where we can unpack for days too. Maybe growing up when he was disrespected, angered, bullied, or made to be put in a similar feeling state in a similar situation, maybe he saw that role modeled. Maybe he did that before and it protected him. It avoided further bullying, confrontation, or attack. And again, all hypothetical examples, all assumptions here. But the point I want to drive home is this was learned. He learned this at some point. He didn't wake up Thursday morning and suddenly have the insight, you know what? If I ever feel threatened or attacked or disrespected, I think I'm going to spit back in defense. No. So this was learned. He had seen this role modeled somewhere. And when emotion takes over, we fall back to instinct, to habit. Habit is literally something within your subconscious mind. And these destructive mindset programs are unconscious, pre-programmed, learned patterns of thinking, feeling, believing, and behaving. And you know what? As unfortunate as that whole situation is, this is probably going to be an incredible wake-up call and hopefully learning lesson for this young man, and it'll never happen again. You know, I only watched a little of the post-game conference and whatnot, but I remember seeing the headline was, an apology. It was a mistake. It'll never happen again. And I really fucking hope it never happens again. I hope he begins to look inward and unpack, why did he feel triggered, unconsciously compelled to react in that particular way? So how and why is this relatable to anything about what you and I talk about on and off the golf course? Because you and I also have destructive mindset programs, these patterns of thinking, feeling, believing, and behaving deployed when a triggering event, person, or circumstance experiences or is experienced, and they're designed to keep us safe. I had the opportunity with a really good friend to play some poker this weekend. And I love that if you have any familiarity with poker, and I'll use plenty of non-poker examples in a moment, when you are the initial raiser in a game of Texas Hold'em, and then somebody re-raises you, it's called a 3-bet. That sometimes can feel like an attack. It can feel threatening. And if you've played poker at all, and you can relate to that feeling, I know I certainly could in the early goings of my playing career, when you feel attacked, it may trigger a similar feeling state and set of behaviors as to when maybe if you were bullied as a kid. So as again, overly simplified example, if you were constantly bullied as a young kid, you were on guard. It's almost like you were teetering on the edge of that fight or flight, and you likely responded of one of two ways. You either fought back relentlessly, which I imagine if you did that, you probably weren't bullied for very long, or you shut down. You got timid, doubtful, uncertain. You played small. You talked small. You took up less and less space. So the way that we would see that play out on the poker table is every time you were 3-bet, you would hunker down, you would fold, you'd play small, you get overly conservative until inevitably all that anger and rage from feeling disrespected, attacked that you experienced as a little boy or girl while bullied is brewing under the surface at the poker table, and suddenly you lash out. You make an irrational 4-bet, which would be a re-raise to the re-raise, or you irrationally shove. You just make this emotionally charged decision, probably a stupid decision because it's your way on the poker table of fighting back. Enough is enough, so you would fight back. So again, the trigger here is feeling attacked. In this case, it's re-raised on the poker table. Maybe it's being picked on as a kid, and you feel angry. You believe this is unfair. It's an injustice. I got to protect myself. And you fight back. Maybe as a little boy, you're throwing punches, you're shoving, and maybe on the poker table, you're re-raising, you're shoving, literally actually shoving chips in too. How about that? But again, learned behavior designed to protect yourself. On the golf course, if we go with that theme of being, feeling attacked or threatened, if you're playing a match play event and your competitor, your playing partner, sinks a birdie putt, or maybe they're up by a stroke or two, and suddenly that anger kicks in and you begin to become overly aggressive. You become rushed in your thought process, your decision making, and your pre-shot routine because you feel threatened. When your opponent is playing better than you, you take that personally. It's a threat, and an anger or some variation of that emotion hijacks the steering wheel of your decision making and your action taking, and you react unconsciously. And it's not until 3-6 holes later, the end of the round, where you're reflecting and you're like, well, fuck, that was a stupid decision. Wow, I rushed that shot and that shot. Or, oh my gosh, I think I skipped my pre-shot routine here and here as well. So again, it's these unconscious patterns. And here's what I need you to hear. It's not if a triggering event arises, it's when. Life is an emotional battlefield. Again, it's not if you encounter a triggering event, it's when. And that triggering event can be a person, it can be an outcome, it can be said person and the outcome associated with it, somebody you hate sinking a birdie to take a one-stroke lead. It can be the environment you walk into. You ever noticed when you go visit home and you're visiting your parents and that's the house that was your childhood house? Maybe you just start to notice a little bit of a tendency to kind of regress to some of those childlike or early teenage-like behaviors. You start playing small and mom and dad are in charge again all of a sudden. And you're like, whoa, wait a second. No, I'm an adult now. I don't have to behave that way. I don't have to live that way. That's an example of a trigger, returning to your childhood home. It's something said, a word or a couple of words said. It's how something is said. There's no shortage of triggers. It's up to you to begin to expand your awareness around not only what triggers you, and look, you got to be honest with yourself here. Upon reflection, and you should have a reflective process, whether it's journaling, meditating, breath work, sitting in silence, therapy, coaching, that you're able to recognize, like as you're reflecting, like, yeah, I started to notice my heartbeat getting a little faster, a little tension in my chest when X, Y, and Z occurred, or I experienced A, B, and C. And allow that to kind of be the trigger for you to get curious, to start reflecting through a lens of non-judgmental curiosity. Why did I feel stressed, anxious? Why did that comment piss me off? Why, when my little sister did this, did I feel angry? And you can use that to start unpacking, okay, this situation occurred. And really, like, I encourage you got to break it down like flowchart style in a journal. You're writing it down, really simplistic, really elementary. Okay, like this happened. I felt this. I reacted by doing or thinking or feeling or behaving like this. When else have I seen that play out in my life? Interesting. I can't stress enough how powerful that self-reflection is to begin to uncover the literal destructive mindset program that's taking place. So I used a silly one on the golf course. Anger and frustration are so easy to think about, but, also, let's say you're playing in an event that you have placed this level of perceived pressure on to play well, this level of expectation. You really want to play well. It means a lot. It's the club championship, member guests, or just a local amateur tournament, or maybe it's Q school. It's fucking Q school season is here. And the last 9, maybe you're playing well above or well below expectation, and you start to get a little tight, a little tense, a little fearful, a little disastrous in your decision making, a little rushed. Because underneath the surface, you're scared. Oh my God, what if I make the next stage? What if I win this tournament? What if I place T5, T10? I'm winning money. I'm not used to that. That's unfamiliar. And see, it goes back to, again, these unconscious pre-programmed reactions are deployed as you start flirting with and stepping just outside your comfort zone. So if you're about to win or shoot a new low on the golf course, that's a new identity you're starting to flirt with. It's foreign. Your subconscious is like, whoa, wait a second. I don't know who that guy is. If you win the club championship, you've never done that before. Holy shit. New pressure, new eyeballs, new attention, the spotlight, expectations, more responsibilities. You sure you want that? I don't know what any of that's like. I'm going to make it easy for you. I don't want you to have that stress and that novelty. So I'm going to deploy destructive mindset program A, B, and C, and you're going to feel like this. You're going to fuck it up. You're going to get really close. So you have a little bit to be proud of, a couple silver linings, but ultimately you're not going to achieve your goal. And I recognize how irrational and silly that sounds. And I recognize the question, which would be very fair to ask, of why in the world is it me versus me? Why am I holding myself back? Because that's how we are designed. Safety, safety, safety. Survive, not thrive. We are programmed to survive, not thrive. However, you can flip that and prioritize thriving versus surviving when you have this type of awareness and you take the action, the new, different, uncomfortable action to begin poking holes in these programs, dismantling them, and harvesting the energy as a result to build better beliefs and behaviors. And that's really where the power of mindset and performance coaching comes in. That's really where the power of hypnosis comes in, is having a coach on your side, working with you together to uncover your blind spots, to shine a big fucking spotlight on the blind spots. Every time you get close to a new best sales month, to a new best sales quarter or year, you're about to cross, whether it be 5 or 6 figures a month, multiple 7 figures, 8 figures a year, but it seems like inevitably you find a way to fuck it up. You stop doing what you know you need to be doing. You've had a couple of great months, a great quarter, golf course or otherwise, and suddenly you stop doing the things that enabled and empowered you to have a great period of time, a week, month, quarter, or year. That is a classic example of when you are coming up short. You stop doing what you know you need to be doing. It's not a lack of knowledge problem. It's a mindset problem. You have fallen victim to a destructive mindset program. Destructive mindset programs come in all shapes, sizes, colors, forms. You might know them as perfectionism, fear of success, fear of failure, imposter syndrome. You might know them as procrastination. You might know them as I'm afraid of the spotlight. I don't want to stand out. I'm uncomfortable when all eyes are on me. And deep down, you say like, oh, I want more success, but deep down, more success comes with more attention, eyeball, spotlight on you. And that's fucking terrifying. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? That spitting, it's a horrible situation we saw unfold. Fortunately, it wasn't punching or kicking or a full-on brawl. We got a little taste of that in the Ravens-Bills game on Sunday night. Lamar Jackson was literally attacked, and even before that, he saw one of his teammates, someone he loves and cares about dearly, attacked. Now, attack might seem like a strong word, because if I recall, it was kind of like a younger kid, maybe a little man, I'm not sure, who is banned from all NFL games now regardless, pushed DeAndre Hopkins. But still, there was a threat in play to one of the people he cares about, and then literally on himself. That was a triggering event. Every single one of us, I want to have an imagination. If I saw one of my best friends, hit in the head like that, or someone hit me in the head, I'm going to have an opportunity to practice a hell of a lot of self-restraint and stoicism to not hit that individual back. I get it. I understand that. And your destructive mindset programs, I imagine, for the most part, don't play out on national television. But we see it in golf. And again, another simple, might seem silly example. Anytime someone is throwing a club, Wyndham Clark, good fucking grief. How many clubs are you going to throw in a year? There's some anger. There's some frustration. Triggering event, poor shot. I underperformed. I've worked so hard and I still came up well short. And he watches yet again another drive go OB or considerably shanked. Anger or a variety of that emotion is suddenly hijacking the steering wheel of his decision making. How do I release that anger? He's probably seen or had role modeled for him. Throwing a club helps bring a short-term Band-Aid like relief. So he throws a club. He almost hits a couple people and breaks a few things, like literally the locker room he destroyed. Again, you ask Wyndham Clark at any other time, hey, would you ever destroy a locker? Would you ever throw a club? Absolutely not. No, why would I do that? That's terrible. It's not good for the game. It's not professional. It's not respectful. But he wasn't in his right state of mind in that moment. Therefore, he was irrational, illogical, emotional. That wasn't the best version of him online making those decisions in real time. There was an unconscious, destructive mindset program, a pre-programmed reaction that took place from a triggering event. These run rampant. They are your biggest enemy to next level success. They are far greater of a threat than your competitor, the fucking economy, a particular team member. You are your biggest enemy to next level success. Oh, maybe that should be the title of this show. Oh, I hope I remember that in 5 minutes. You are the biggest enemy to your next level success. And you likely have a sneaky suspicion as to what some of the triggering events that hold you back and cause you to behave, think, feel, or believe irrationally are. You need to start getting curious. You need to start getting curious. You need a better reflective process, and you can't go at it alone. So many of you are going to listen to this, okay? Like, Paul, you're giving me the big picture. You're giving me some framework. You've given me some questions. Look, 99% of the time, coaching is the answer. And I'm not going to sit here and give you a coaching spiel. You know how I feel about coaching. Asking for help accelerates results. There's a reason I have multiple coaches in my life. The best of the best have coaches. And for this type of work, when it is not a knowledge problem, hiring a coach for a lack of knowledge problem is a fantastic choice. Hiring a coach to get into the mindset and performance issues that are holding you back is a necessary choice to get to the next level. Because again, you are your worst enemy, your biggest threat to achieving next level success. And when you can begin to not only become aware of the collection of destructive mindset programs keeping you stuck, comfortable, familiar in this predictable, perpetual pattern of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and you can then begin to take the most effective action to dismantle these patterns and begin to build ones that serve you and work for you, you accelerate fast. You rise through the ranks fast. You level the fuck up very fast. Success is a choice. And there are a collection of enemies in your own mind in the 6 inches between your ears holding you back. And when you can equip yourself with the toolkit, both surface level, quick implementation strategies, breath work, awareness, a presence practice, positive thinking, gratitude, those help in the moment. Because again, I've said it from day one, the golf course is filled with plenty of physical hazards, but also plenty of mental and emotional hazards. So we need those tools like gratitude, a presence, breath work to quickly reset, refocus, release any tingle of emotion or sensation that comes up as a potential threat. But you need far more than that. Because you bring your whole self to the golf course. And any brief tastes of fear, anger, imposter syndrome, timidness, indecision, fear of success that arise on the golf course absolutely arise in other facets of your life. And you need to get to the core and uncover when, why, and how these patterns, these programs emerge. Begin to understand through a lens of non-judgmental curiosity why they were designed, how they're protecting you, where and how they're keeping you safe. And then do the work to uncover how to let them go, dismantle them, break them down so you can build back up the beliefs and behaviors you need to achieve next level results. And if you want more information on the role hypnosis plays, check out episode 67 of the Scratch Golfer's Mindset podcast. That is a phenomenal in-depth episode of hypnosis that's tied into this topic of destructive mindset programs. There's also a past newsletter on the More Pars and Bogeys newsletter site linked below that digs in and gives a ton of tangible examples, prompts, and questions to help you begin better identifying the destructive mindset programs keeping you stuck and holding you back. And then there's also a newsletter and a podcast. The podcast number eludes me at this moment, all on what's known as the upper limit problem or fear of success. That is also a very valuable resource that complements this topic and conversation quite well. And that's where we're going to end the episode. A couple updates. It's Tuesday. When's the last time we had a Tuesday episode? Exciting. This was actually supposed to be a Monday episode, but I had to shift some things with childcare. And here we are. I was up at 0:30, 3:50 this morning, getting ready to film this or record this. So I'm glad I had the opportunity to make it happen for you. Moving forward, the rest of the year, I'm going to try something new. 2 episodes a week. Every Monday, I know today's Tuesday, cut me some slack. Fatherhood be real. Every Monday will be a solo episode. You and I, solo episode. There it is. You and I going deep on a particular topic under the umbrella of mindset. Unpacking resilience is really where I want to go. Unpacking winning, competition, pressure, expectation. A lot of great topics I've got percolating that I'll deliver on my own every Monday. And then Thursday, we'll continue with the inside the mind of some phenomenal fucking guests. We're just 48 hours away from my second conversation with my good friend Michael Leonard, Wicked Smart Golf. You're not going to want to miss that. We've got Evan Singer from the Par Train after that. Carl Morris, Europe's leading sports psychologist, the week after. We've got Mark Immelman back, Dr. Izzy Justice, Dr. Brett McCabe, Mike Booker, Patrick Sebastian, and so many more phenomenal, bright minds here to help you, to empower you with the information and strategies you need to get to the core of what's keeping you stuck so you can achieve your potential on and off the course. And listen, I don't have ads on this show. I don't ever plan to have ads on this show. So what I ask is that you pay the fee. I'm taking this straight out of the MF CEO playbook from Andy Frisella. Share this podcast. Share this episode. The way you can support the show is sharing it. And if you haven't done so already, leave a review. Leave a rating. It literally takes 30 seconds. That's all I ask of you is share and leave a rating and review so that I can continue to bring phenomenal guests onto the show. Because I am committed to continuing to improve my interview, my conversation communication skills to squeeze as much juice out of those guests as possible to help you become the best version of you. I thank you so much for listening. I thank you in advance for leaving a rating and review on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you're listening. I thank you in advance for sharing this episode. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of the day, a strong fucking start to the week. Make today great, and I'll catch you in the next episode.